Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Infinity, and this is Magnetize Yourself, where we talk about life, love, spirituality, and of course, the law of attraction. So I am already feeling some major downloads coming through, and many of these downloads are feeling so specific to certain groups of people. So of course, at the beginning of these readings, I like to say that at the end of the day, it's really your intuition that is the compass for your life experience. So I always recommend taking these readings and really running it by your intuition internally and doing those cross comparisons, because these are collective energy readings. So we do tend to channel into many different people, situations, and dynamics. So always use your intuition to really confirm to yourself which messages are relevant for you and which messages might be for others. But anyway, with that little spiel out of the way, I want to say that the first download coming through is a very specific one. And it's about a particular person that has met or encountered you or your energy recently. And this is someone who has never met anyone like you before. This person was really coming through in this download as saying, and this is just like a direct quote from their mind for someone listening. And the quote is, "In all of my," and then insert the number of years old they are in terms of earth years, "in all of my this many years on this earth, I have never met anyone like you." So regardless of how old this person is in terms of earth years, which of course really isn't relevant, we are breaking down all of those barriers and limiting ideas around what we consider to be age and really timing in general in our lives. And by the way, that's another major download that's been coming through. So I will be sharing a lot more information about how we as part of this collective, and I know many of you are really specifically involved in this in your personal journey, and it's part of your core purpose here on earth to be playing a role in breaking down those so strongly entrenched but deeply limiting societal programs and belief systems around our earth years, our so-called age, the timing of our lives, and all of those kinds of things, which again are really just these limiting programs that can inhibit us from really embodying our fullest potential. So we'll see if that comes back up in this particular reading or if that's going to be saved for some other reading. But I really want to kind of finish this thought or channel more deeply into this thought regarding this specific download with this person who feels as though you are so different from anyone else that they've ever met. And the words coming out here, because I could sense that many of you listening were asking what specifically this person found to be so different about you. Okay, it's that you seem to embody two different extremes or two different sides of a coin, but it's like you hit this sweet spot in a sense where you embody both seemingly contradictory aspects simultaneously. Okay, I know this is going to get really deep. I already feel these, what I like to call quantum messages coming through. And of course, as I always say, I know that's happening because many of you are bringing your own powerful energy and intentions to the table here to this reading. We really are all are co-creators here. So it's interesting. I keep stumbling over my words at the beginning of this reading. This person is feeling nervous around you. They feel as though they're almost tongue-tied or kind of stumbling over their words if they have tried to communicate with you, or maybe they've actually not been communicating, or I'm hearing not been following up with you because they're feeling tongue-tied. So if there was some kind of meeting or interaction and it feels like they're not following it up, it might be because you actually make this person nervous, which, by the way, again, this is getting so specific, but this is someone who does not usually get nervous. This person is coming through as someone with a really strong, confident, rebellious even kind of spirit, and they don't really allow people to intimidate them or make them nervous, but you have this person so nervous around you. And I feel it almost caught them off guard, or still catches them off guard when they're around you. And it's almost like a nervousness and a self-consciousness seems to rise up within them. You'll see this in their eyes and on their face, by the way. Like if you were sitting face to face or talking to this person, you will visibly be able to see how you actually make them, I'm hearing, stutter or feel nervous, or even show a little bit of hesitation. I'm hearing you give someone who's typically such a good talker and communicator and very confident and people friendly, you give this kind of person a reason for pause. It's like you make them stop in their tracks and actually feel a little uncharacteristically hesitant. So I'm also getting something rough around the edges. I'm not sure why that wording is coming up. Maybe this person seems a little rough around the edges or puts on this exterior as being cold. But I get that you actually saw right through that exterior. There's a softness beneath that. This is someone who's deeply loyal to the people that are very close to them, but can come off as kind of abrupt or rude at times to people who are not close to them, just because it's kind of like their nature. Again, they have this very strong, rebellious kind of spirit to them. This is so complicated to explain, but I don't know why my guides are sending me so deep into this person's nature and like their soul and their core aspects. There's some reason that someone listening here who's relating to this needs to know this information, or maybe for you, actually more likely, you intuitively already know all of this about this person, and this is some kind of sign of confirmation for you. But anyway, let's get back to, you can tell this person's just been spinning in their head about you, thinking about you a lot, because you can see it in the style of the reading, which often the way that these readings and messages come out actually reflects the kind of nature of the energy or the person that we're channeling into. So in this case, the fact that this has been kind of so scattered and yet going so deep into these like little rabbit holes here and there, it's like representing how this person is thinking about you a lot, but it's like their mind is jumping all over the place and then going into these like deep wandering pathways mentally, wondering about you, replaying interactions, conversations, diving into things mentally. This person's mind has really just been spinning about you. But anyway, let's get back again to what they find so captivating about you. And by the way, this is someone who, it's like the imagery coming up here is like you've caught the attention of someone who typically pays attention to like no one and nothing. Like you brought down someone's walls, and a person who typically has those walls up for almost everyone except maybe a very few people super close to them. And I'm talking like probably a couple family members and maybe a few really, really close friends. But you have this person in awe of the way that you've elicited this reaction in them, that in, again, all of their years on this earth, they feel that they've never had someone come in and so instantly touch their heart and their soul and actually get through to them on a deeper level in this way. So this person, as we said a couple minutes ago, again, this reading has just been going deep into all of these like different little aspects, which leads me to another thing, which is this is someone who notices the little things. So you will notice that if you do speak or interact with this person, they register very seemingly small things about you. They will remember everything you say, everything you reference, even like names of people that you reference. It's almost like they are silently observing you and picking up on the smallest mannerisms and details and things about you, but they would never want you to know that they were doing this. They're very coy about it. Like, again, this person has a very like strong, typically cold seeming nature. So they wouldn't want you to know that they are picking up on and remembering and thinking about all of these little things about you. So this is someone who feels as though you have this gift of embodying opposites. I know that sounds so strange, and we need to talk about this because this isn't limited to how this particular person perceives you. So even for those of you listening who might not be connecting, or I should say might not be connecting yet with this energy, because for some of you, this person's soul may be really noticing you on a soul level, meaning, well, we've talked about this, but you meet everyone at soul level, at the quantum level first, energetically, and then those meetings manifest physically. So for some of you, I might actually be predictively describing how a connection will unfold itself that you've been sensing energetically, because your souls, I'm hearing, have been intertwined in the quantum realm in some way or entangled in some way. And it's very much for a specific reason, which hopefully, I know there's just so much to channel here. And it's almost like as I'm channeling, I can feel so many of you resonating with pieces of this and asking for more information. And it's like bringing up so many more downloads in such a good way. But that also means that, of course, you kind of have to bear with the reading here because we do tend to jump around a bit. But I do think it's beautiful how, because time, space, and distance are so irrelevant when it comes to energy, it's such an amazing thing how, and some of you have asked this in the comments as well, how it's possible that you are co-creating the readings if they aren't being recorded and shared in the moment live. It's because the concept of time is really an illusion. And information meets us and connects with us when we're ready for it. But also, we are all multidimensional. We all actually exist energetically completely outside of time and space, and we are all connected to one another. So what this means is that when I'm creating this reading, simultaneously, I'm connecting in with all the past, present, and future people who will be interested in this reading and who are sending energy to this reading. It's really like we're working at this multidimensional level here. It's kind of like many of you are familiar with when a musician creates music or an inventor invents something and they're said to be ahead of their time, meaning whatever they invent or create might not experience its full-blown recognition or impact at the time, but it's because it's multidimensional, because it's meant to have an impact futuristically as well. So that might be a message for someone on your personal life path. Maybe you are creating or doing something that feels ahead of its time. And know that if you're inspired to it and you're feeling that passion and you're moving with the flow of that, keep creating, because things that you are creating and sharing and doing now that might not quite yet be resonating with large numbers of people could actually have that effect later on down the line. I keep getting this imagery of like an artist recording an album that isn't necessarily well received when they first release it, but then like months or years down the road, that album is like gold for them. It becomes super popular completely out of nowhere. Now, of course, I know that this is just an example. You can take this to apply to really any area of your life, but what you need to know is at this phase of your journey, you are creating very multidimensionally, very much outside of time. So you can't really judge the success of your creations based on how they are received in what we think of the linear now moment. This is also why we've channeled in past readings how it's so important for you to just keep taking that inspired step forward and to not shut it all down, so to speak. It's because consciously, you can't perceive the effect that the things you are doing now are having on your future version of self, or what they are creating, or what they are building momentum towards. And again, it's like you're working at this higher level where things that you are creating or doing now might feel as though they aren't reaching their full audience or their full potential in the moment. But that doesn't mean they're not meant to be created. It means this is some kind of creative investment actually in your future. It's almost like, my guides are comparing it to like if you were to have bought stock in a huge name company like Apple or Google or Facebook or something right at the beginning of its inception, and how initially, if the next day after buying that stock, you were wondering, it's almost like you receive a vision that it's going to be successful. You buy the stock and then the next day your human self is thinking, well, this hasn't paid off yet. Maybe I should just sell the stock. But the reason you receive the guidance isn't because of the now moment payoff. It's because your intuition knew that this was a pathway to huge manifestations for you. It was an energetic investment in something that's going to manifest so many things that you desire later on down the line in terms of linear time and what we think of as the future. So that's why it's so essential to have the courage and the clarity to keep acting on those inspired, good feeling, intuitive impulses as we receive them, feeling even at times as though we're walking in the dark. So I don't know who manifested that very seemingly random piece of information, but I know that came through for someone specific. So hopefully that reached you, whoever you are. But let's get back to you embodying these opposites. And again, this isn't just related to how this specific person perceives you, although this is something that they admire about you. But this actually extends into something about your core soul nature and how you are really hitting this, I keep getting the word sweet spot in your life, where you've mastered this art of seeming to almost like balance two opposites, and in that center of gravity, that place of balance between two aspects that are apparently opposite, like a yin-yang sort of dynamic, you render yourself incredibly powerful and magnetic. So I'm also hearing in order to do this, you had to go into both aspects at different periods of time where you were unbalanced temporarily, in the sense that you were really overly fixated on healing or embodying that one aspect in order to balance it out with the others. But when I'm talking about these opposites, specifically what this person themselves is noticing about you is you are someone who is both highly independent, but also seemingly connected to everything. So they see you as independent and strong and completely internally balanced and self-reliant, and yet somehow you are so clearly tapped into this collective energy. For some reason, I'm hearing something about the way that you interact with others. So you might be someone who, I'm hearing they literally see you lighting up the room and like bringing out light within others. So when you meet or interact with someone, it's literally like you illuminate them energetically because you are tapped into this like collective energy field. Now, they wouldn't use those exact words, but you might kind of conceptualize it that way. And this is something that just fascinates them, this effect that you have on others. And yet the whole time you stay in your center of power. Like you never seem to leave that independent center of gravity, even as you are so interconnected with everyone and everything around you. I'm also hearing something about how people seem to generally just react so positively to you. It's like you carry this frequency, this energy that elicits positive response from not only the people around you, but it's almost like the environment around you shifts when you walk into it as well. Now, this is something that for some listening, you might not even be fully aware that you have this effect on your environment or on the people in that environment. I'm hearing, I wish you could see how the room shifts when you walk into it. Wow, I don't know if that's coming from this specific person, or that might be even your guides telling you, it's like your frequency sets the tone for a room in the best kind of way. You really illuminate spaces, places, and people that you walk into. Okay, so another opposite that you seem to embody is you are both sweet and soft, but also strong. It's like that rose kind of metaphor where you have this beauty, this softness, this gentleness to you, but also the thorns of the rose. You have this strong protectedness. They notice that you are someone who does not take disrespect from others, but you don't demand respect with your words or your actions. You don't force that respect from people. There's an energy about you that sets the boundaries ahead of you. And they have this awareness of the boundaries that they feel they cannot cross. If you notice that this person seems to hesitate when it comes to moving things forward with you, especially if this is a romantic connection and they've been slow to initiate things like flirty things, romantic things, physical touch, that sort of thing, this may actually be because subconsciously they can sense your energetic protectedness. They can sense, it's like, again, I keep hearing that your boundaries are set ahead of you by your energy. It's not something that you actively do. It's not that you're actively demanding respect from people, but your energy naturally commands that kind of respect. I'm hearing you command it, you draw it to you, you don't demand it, like try to force it out of someone. And they are really feeling respectful towards you in that way, but almost to the point where this might be the kind of person that is moving so slowly when it comes to those things that, again, if there is that potential romantic element, you might be kind of finding yourself questioning or wondering how they're feeling, or if that attraction is there, if that desire is there on their end, even though intuitively you can sense it. But it seems like physically there's such a respect from them towards you that they can actually be a bit hesitant when it comes to initiating those kinds of things. Okay, so I am going to finally, at 22 minutes into the reading, go ahead and pull a couple cards here. It's so funny. We've been doing some readings lately where it's almost as though the energy just flows so naturally that the cards, when the energy is flowing like that, the cards can almost feel like they're just getting in the way. Although in times where, for example, someone is so closed off or so hesitant, or a situation is very convoluted, the cards can be such a powerful tool at the same time because they can kind of pull out the energy and organize it in a different way. But the fact that the cards weren't even necessary for the first 22 minutes of this reading in itself tells me the kind of powerful, intense, and really very clear energy this person is sending you, meaning they feel very clear about how they feel about you. There's really no muddiness here in their feelings towards you. So let's go ahead and reshuffle the cards here. Okay, so what is this person thinking or feeling towards you at this time? Okay, so they find your presence very grounding and stabilizing. Now, this is an effect that they've noticed in the interim, I'm hearing. So, for example, if you've interacted with or spoken to this person, this is an effect they didn't necessarily notice in the moment of speaking to you, but they actually noticed after the two of you may have parted ways, or after the conversation, the interaction, the communication. There's something about the way that your energy seems to settle within them, but also seems to actually settle and ground their energy that has really impacted them. It's something they very much noticed about the way that your energy is affecting them in the long term. That's actually a generalized message that the guides are really bringing up here, that it's not so much yes, I mean, they felt in awe of you. They felt this draw to you. And I'm hearing a lot of like physical pull, a lot of physical attraction initially in those early meetings. But what really is pulling them in is something that's much deeper and much harder to explain. It's the way that your energy seems to affect them in those in-between times, between interactions. So I'm also getting, if this person does seem hesitant at times to reach out in those interims, it's not because they're not feeling the desire or the pull to do so, because they are. It's actually because they are processing this very impactful effect that you seem to be having on their energy, and really trying to be strategic about how they move forward. I'm hearing, don't mistake my slowness for a lack of interest. So if this person seems to be moving slowly or seems to be hesitant, they want you to know that that's not because of a lack of interest. It's actually because with the patience card, they want to really take their time in building the foundation here between the two of you. I'm hearing something about like construction. Maybe this person works in construction or is in some field somehow related to building things, because I'm seeing something about someone working with their hands. But it could just be that this is a metaphor for this person saying, I want to build something to last. And they understand that in construction, when you want to build something to last, you have to be careful to lay things in a certain order, to start with the foundation, and to be careful about how you place things initially, to not rush through those initial processes of building the foundation, or else the house won't be able to sustain itself. And they're seeing building a connection with you in the same way, that this is a foundation being built here, and they don't want to rush through that process and not be able to sustain the completed product or project here, whatever that is. It's interesting. We don't typically channel that exact lingo. So for someone here, that might actually be very specific to your person. So what else can I channel about them or their energy? Okay, we have the happy family card. So when I said this is someone who feels something different about you and about your energy, part of that is what it makes them want for their own future. Because I'm strongly picking up that this is someone who, the word avoidant has came out. Maybe they've resigned themselves to being single or being alone. Maybe they've been avoidant of relationship or connection in the past. But you seem to make them want the opposite of what they usually want. It's like somehow the roles have been reversed for this person. They're accustomed to kind of being the runner, to being the one who pulls back, who doesn't want something very serious, who is avoidant when it comes to things getting more serious. But with you, they find themselves locking into this sense of, I want to create something long-term here. And that might seem small, but it's not at all for this person, because this is so rare for them. I'm getting there may even be individuals around them who have noticed this change in them, in their energy, in their demeanor, and they can tell that there's something different about how they feel towards you than how they've felt towards anyone else that they've connected with, because it's the way that your energy in this connection to you is actually affecting them. I'm hearing it's opening them up and it's softening their hardened, rough kind of exterior, and it's making them want to be a better person. And that's the best way I can put it. It's like the way it's coming through from this person's mind, which of course the language they use is going to be different from kind of that quantum level sort of language we use on the channel, because I feel they may not be familiar with that kind of thing. But the way they would personally describe it is you open them up and make them want to be better. And that is so unique to them. They never imagined that Another person could come into their life and actually inspire them to reach for more for themselves. Again, this is someone who's very confident. I feel they're very successful in their own right, or they have some measure of stability or success in their own life. And yet you've come in here and actually really inspired this person to reach for more or to dream bigger for themselves. And that really feels like a major core purpose of the reason that the two of you have met and connected here. Now, I do feel there are deeper reasons as to why the two of you have connected. And in the extended version of the reading on Patreon, we're going to go deeper into the purpose of your bond with this person. So why did you encounter each other? Why have you met each other? Why are you in each other's lives? We'll also be taking a deeper look at how they are personally feeling and thinking towards you, how they want to move this forward, what you can expect from this connection moving forward. And of course, we will also be channeling any other details or pieces of information that want to come through specifically in that extended reading. So if you are feeling a resonance here, and you're feeling guided to join me in the extended version of this reading on Patreon, where I will be heading to next, then the link to do so is in the pinned comment and description box underneath this video. Of course, as well, if you do want to manifest more specific messages from future reading videos, then I do recommend subscribing to the channel, as this is a form of virtual energetic transference, and it helps to tie in your energy more strongly to that kind of co-creative element that we've been referencing throughout this reading. So I would love for you to subscribe, leave me a comment, let me know if anything here did connect for you personally. You can also follow me on Instagram at Magnetize Yourself, where I post more energy updates, inspiration, and information. But for now, I am going to be closing this first YouTube reading with a Rumi Oracle card. You guys know I always like to leave these readings with a Rumi message. I always find these messages to be so poetic and uplifting. So the card to come out here is Dance of the Divine Feminine. So let's go ahead and read a message from the guidebook here. Okay, and the guidebook says, if a tree could move from one place to another, it would not suffer the pain of the saw or the oppressive wounds. If the sun and the moon stood still like the rocks, they could not offer their brilliance. How bitter the taste of water would be if the river stopped its flow, remaining still like seawater. When the seawater rises to become a cloud, it loses its bitterness and pours the rain of sweetness. I have given you only a few examples. You can figure out the rest. Break away from the self and enter the kingdom of love. Rumi. And the guidebook also says, you may feel unsettled, beloved, as though the ground beneath you is not so solid. You may touch it to see. Is it moving? Of course. It is hurtling through the skies, spinning, tilted on its axis. It's amazing you aren't passed out on the floor in utter dizziness, yet you stand there, imagining you have a choice of not moving. What funny foolishness. Let us laugh about it together. How can you even imagine it? Only through some misplaced fear. Give up that tiny insanity in favor of the greater craziness of love. You cannot be unmoved by it. The beloved will give you that gift. The beloved esteems you capable of so much more than being sure-footed and sensible. You'll soon be able to find your orientation, even if everything you have once held on to appears to be shimmering and insubstantial, a mere dance of light rather than solid ground. This will become so easy for you because your orientation will flow from within, from the heart. And no matter what shifts and changes take place around you, your center will remain strong. So that feels like a beautiful place to close the reading. Thank you so much again for tuning in today. And of course, if you do want to continue with me now to our extended version of this reading on Patreon, the link to do so is in the pinned comment and description box underneath the video. Otherwise, I am sending you all huge amounts of love and light energy. Have an amazing remainder of your day and week, and I will connect with you here again in Friday's reading.